All right, everyone. Welcome, everyone, to the September 19th Board of Supervisors meeting, and we will begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. Right, we are starting out with a few public hearings tonight, and we'll try to move them along quickly because I know we got an Eagles game later. All right, I call to order the public hearing for H.R. 454 to consider amending the Code of Tredyffrin to add a chapter for single-use plastics regulations. And I'll start things off with Mr. McKenna.
Thank you, Dr. Gussie. I have marked the following exhibits for the hearing this evening. Board Exhibit 1 is the proof of publication of the notice in the Daily Local News on September 2nd, 2022. Board Exhibit 2 is the proof of publication in the Mainline Times and Suburban on September 11th, 2022. Board Exhibit 3 is the email sent to the public hearing distribution list maintained by the Township on August 24th, 2022. Board Exhibit 4 is a draft of the ordinance, and Board Exhibit 5 are various emails received with comments about the ordinance, or what they call the plastic bag ban. Those are the board exhibits for the hearing this evening.
Thank you. I will now ask for a motion to adopt H.R. 454. Do we have a
So
motion?
moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, do we have any board comment?
Oh, I think this is a step in the right direction that we've needed for a long time, and I'm glad it's finally here. I'd like to applaud the work done by the EAC and led by Tracy Viola, but certainly a lot of the others have participated. I'm glad to have worked with them, and I'm glad to be to have moved this.
Thank you. Any other board comment?
I've already spoken publicly on this and my support for it. I would just ask that, again, we look to find some monies to provide free bags to Township residents when we enact this ordinance. Thank you.
Yeah, this idea, the concept of a ban on single-use plastic bags and other items has been bounced around for a number of years, and it finally got done thanks to the efforts of the EAC and many others. This ordinance will protect the environment and natural resources and our wildlife. And for that, we should be grateful. It will also reduce the burden somewhat on our public works staff, because these bags get stuck in inlets, they get stuck in pipes, and they get blown in trees in all of our parks and public places. And our public works staff has to clean them up, and this is going to help. So this is a good thing for our residents, the public in general, and Tredyffrin Township.
Madam Chair, I'm not going to repeat what everyone else is saying. Obviously, I agree that it's good policy. I want to talk about the practical aspects of it. I don't know if any folks like me spent any time in New Jersey this summer at the shore. New Jersey has a statewide law on banning plastic bags and having reusable bags. It was my first experience with it. I've known about it in theory, thought about it in theory. Having done it now, I'm never going back, whether there's a law or there's not a law. It's convenient, it's easy. The amount of food and other things you can get into those bags makes getting home from the market that much easier. My biggest challenge, and it's just about habit making, my biggest challenge is just remembering to bring the bag into the store with me. And a couple times I've had to buy, extra bags for $1 a piece when I'm in there. But it's well worth it, and Now I have hopefully enough bags that I'll remember them. But from a very practical, putting aside the environmental benefits, from a very practical, just self-interested perspective, I find it just to be easier and better. So, to me, it seems like a win-win.
I'll just add to that I think, the most important thing here is to be shifting the habits of our residents. So taking that step where we do remember to bring reusable bags and not just switch to a new alternative of another single-use product, but to actually change our habits to bring reusable bags and use them and reuse them over and over. Do we have any other board comments?
Madam Chair, before we move on to public comment, we did receive a number of emails in support of the ordinance tonight. What we did provide you copies of these emails, and what I was going to do is read the list of names that have submitted these letters of support or comments. Maria Delaney, Ashley Dungan, Sharon Eisenhower, Pam Kotze, and Anders Back, formerly of Paoli, Julie Liberi, Emma Mellon, Anna Nigron, Maggie Polos, Joanne and Ron Rose, Allison Sanka, Ann Swift, Allison Dyer, and Nancy Breitling. Statement of opposition to the plastic bag ban was also submitted, and that gentleman is going to be here tonight, Art Zendrosden.
Thank you. Do we have any comment from the public tonight?
Yeah, sure.
Sorry, please come up to the microphone and state your name and your location, your address.
Yeah, my name is George Snyder. I've been living in Mansell Road for over 50 years, and I can tell right now I've wasted my time coming out because you've already passed the damn thing. I used to come to these meetings when I first came to Tredyffrin Township, and they really run pretty well. And then Paul Olson came along, and I kind of left paying attention, and Paul took over. Now, Plato said that, when you stop paying attention to your government, you're going to be run by a bunch of fools. And that's exactly what's happened here. You're a bunch of fools from the top down with Brendan all the way down to the township. Now, the township probably started a little bit, came west or from Lower Merion Township, Radnor Township, and now it's infected Tredyffrin Township. Now, it manifests itself in things like sidewalks to nowhere. You got that here. And I can name 3 of them off the top of my head. The one I just passed, which is on Devon Park Drive, I don't think it's even a sidewalk. It's kind of like a macadam path. And I saw a jogger on it today. He wasn't on the path. He was jogging on the road. And so now we got, and now you can't raise taxes but so much. So now you pass a law, we're going to have a stormwater tax. So we're going to tax stormwater. Now stormwater's been happening for eons. And now we get the plastic bags, okay? I don't know if you saw the movie The Graduate with Dustin Hoffman, but the subject was plastics. And plastics are the future. And now you're trying to take away the future from us, people. Now I think you ought to put it on a referendum and kill whatever you pass, put it on a referendum, see what the people say, instead of the fools that are leading us. Now, as far as I'm concerned, I go to the Acme at least probably once a day, maybe twice a day. I get 2 or 3 plastic bags full of stuff. I carry them in one hand out to the car. It's convenient. They're strong. They don't leak. They don't break. I take them home, and maybe I'll line them with a trash can with them or a wastebasket, or I put them into a bowl and I recycle them to wherever you recycle them. So, as far as I'm concerned, you're taking away one of my rights, and I don't like it. And this disease that has crept across our country in the last several years is destroying it from the top down, with Brandon all the way down to Tredyffrin Township. So I saw a notice on the news today where Brandon executed 99 executive orders this year so far, highest in the history of the country. And it's going to cost taxpayers $1.5 trillion, estimated. Now, I don't even know what a trillion is. Maybe you guys do. You're sitting up there on the podium. So anyway, that's my plastic bag comment, but I got another one, a pet peeve. I spoke with Murph up there one time over the summer about these charging stations at the library. I see two Teslas, little Teslas up there back up to the charging station, and it's, you know, it's free for them, but it's not free for the taxpayer. And, you know, Henry Ford didn't get any free gas to get those Model Ts off the assembly line. There's no reason why we should give free electricity to the electric cars. They don't pay road taxes, as you well know. So we ought to take that electric charge and fill the potholes on the bottom of Old Eagle School Road. Now, I did bring one prop, which I took considerable time to get a hold of. I don't know if you remember the commercial. You should see it on. This big seal is lying on a floating platform. And it took me a while to get this picture because it was only on for a second. But what it says is sometimes doing nothing is the best investment. That's what I think you guys should do. Do nothing. Just let the plastic bags, let us make our own decisions.
Thank you. Do we have any other public comments tonight?
I didn't get the gentleman's name. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Claire Lewis. I live at 17 Chateau Circle, and I would just like to say on behalf of the community, thank you to Tracy Viola for all of the work that she did on this project. I've sat through several presentations in the last 4 years, and I'd like to commend her on the quality of her presentation and the information she passed on to us. Thanks.
Thank you. Come on up.
Hi, my name is Ron Rose, 701 Hollow Road. I sense by the gentleman spoke first that he's opposed to the ban. I'm very, very much in favor of it. And I'd like to commend not only Tracy for the work she's done, but for the content of the 454. It is very detailed. It takes into consideration the transition, the benefits, a lot of the pluses and minuses. And one of the things that sometimes comes up as a minus is the cost of an effect of substituting paper bags. But that can be mitigated to a great extent by the reusable bags, which cost more to produce, I understand, but they're reusable. And plastics and Henry Ford were 50 years ago. A lot has happened since then. And if anyone needs any visual effect or damage that plastic bags are doing, just Google plastic bag pollution on Google, and you'll see hundreds and hundreds of pictures from around the world as to the effect they're having on our oceans, aquatic life, waterways, and so on. And if you really need a visual, go to the annual cleanup in the John Hines Wildlife Refuge down at the airport. That's the Darby Creek waterway discharges into that, and it is literally covered with plastic. And hundreds of volunteers show up for a week to manually clean it up. And all we're doing is cleaning up what has slowed down from the water's velocity going down, and it stays in that refuge. But we don't see what's going on into the Delaware River and then into the ocean. But we can certainly see it if we look online to see the effects. So I applaud you for this, and I'm very much in support of it. And thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other public comment?
Hi, I'm Liza Bernard, and I live at 586 Conestoga Road in Berwyn. I'm very much in favor of this. In respect to some of the other comments, one thing I would just offer out that may develop, I had the opportunity to vacation in Cape Cod and have been doing so for 15, 20 years. And over 10 years ago, the township that we attend in Cape Cod transferred over to, they banned single-use plastic bags. And the grocery stores there at least the one that I frequent the most, the first year that they installed the ban, the grocery store made a wonderful opportunity for their business and created bags that they gave away for the first year that had their name on it. It was a heavy-duty plastic bag, and I suspect there will be some businesses that will maybe find that there's an opportunity for some good marketing here. I mean, we are a community that has some good business minds. So that's, because I think that is a concern, to get people to have something that is substantial to take away, but to keep in the habit of keeping in your car. If you have enough of them, you can keep some in your car for any disaster when you've left them at home. And we have come a long way from the years of the graduate. We also have computers now. We have information to be able to get, like the Googling of how these things are impacting the ocean and our rivers and streets. And there's, I think probably most people know about, I can't remember what it's called, but there is a big island of plastic out in the Pacific that is, some years ago, was over the size of Texas. So that's what we want to try to avoid happening around here, too, and get rid of that as well. I hope you pass it.
Thank you.
Good evening, I'm Lisa Schreiber. I live on Maple Avenue in Paoli. Excuse me. I was fortunate enough to have the opportunity this summer to spend some time abroad, and I was absolutely blown away. Talk about getting perspective on the sustainability abroad. I wanted to also support the ordinance in our township and would be very proud if you all voted in favor of it. It's incredible, actually, when in some of the countries I was in where you can't really even get a to-go cup of coffee. You bring your own cup, or they furnish a clean one for you. There were no plastic utensils. If anything, they were made of bamboo, and they were very hard to come by because over time they've just learned to adapt. It's, they would look at me like, "What are you talking about? You want an extra fork? Get it yourself. You can get it at home." So it just blew me away that, we have such a very, very long way to go, and this is a very, very easy and simple start. So thank you.
Thank you. I see you. One of my favorite 7th graders from Valley Forge. Give your name and your...
Hi, I'm Zia Levy, and I'm in 7th grade at Valley Forge Middle School. I live on Schoolhouse Lane, and I just want to say thank you. If this passes, it's really important to me that the environment is kept safe, because when I grow up, I don't want to have like 30 years of my life before everything is plunged into global warming chaos. Thank you.
Thank you for coming out, Zia. Any other public comment?
Hi, I'm Diane Giambetti, and I live at 161 Dalesford. I'm Diane Giambetti, and I live at 161 Dalesford in Dalesford Lake. And there is never a time when I go into a store that I do not have a bag. They come this big, and you can take them out, and I can put the world in here, and they fold up, and they're easy. I never have to worry about a bag. I've been recycling and taking care of things for over 50 years, when we used to have to stomp our cans and take our glass bottles back, and I had to drive 50 miles to do it. But guess what? There's no excuse ever to be without a bag, and we do not need plastic, and thank you all for doing this.
Thank you.
Hello. I'm Amber Atwood-Levy. I live on Schoolhouse Lane, and I am the chair of your EAC. And I just wanted to come up and take a moment and thank the supervisors and the staff for your spirit of collaboration on this. It's been a long road, but we appreciate you pushing us to be thorough and to do the data collection and get this done right. And I also just wanted to take a moment and thank all of you out here who have worked really hard, EAC members and volunteers, who have worked really hard to collect this data and do these surveys and get this information, because it's been a long road, and we have done a lot of good work together. And you guys have been a great board to work with, and we just enjoy everything that we accomplish together. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, come on up.
Hi, I'm Connie Otley. I live in Berwyn. I very much support the plastic ordinance. I'm so grateful to Tracy Viola and all those who have educated us and shown us a way to save our planet. This is a very important step. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment tonight?
Good evening. Arthur Zadrowski. I'm from Painter's Lane, and the science teacher in me can't get up in front of a group without some kind of a demonstration. So if you'll allow me for a moment. Compostable straws. I don't want to become the most unpopular person in this room, but again, my name is Arthur Zadrowski. I'm a retired chemical engineer. I'm a retired science teacher. I'm a resident in this township for 9 years, and I'm pleased since I've retired that I can become more involved in things, and I wish I had been more involved earlier on. Spent a lot of my life defending and explaining the benefits of plastics to people. Sadly, the information that I read in the report that you have on file from Penn Environment is not an accurate reflection of what plastics are doing to the environment. I don't like seeing plastics in trees. I pick up foam plastics when I see it on the roadways. I don't like to see it out in the oceans. But you have to consider that what you're proposing is only a small fraction of the problem, and in fact is going to create other problems. Plastics didn't become prevalent because they were cheap. Plastics were cheap because they were a very efficient, very economical, very low-cost, environmentally effective way of running our economy. They weren't forced on anybody. We substituted plastics in glass bottles because you can hold 35 times more material in a plastic bottle than you can in a glass bottle by weight. And it takes more energy to recycle a glass bottle than you get back. Plastics are the second most effective recycling material out there next to aluminum. In fact, interesting little bit of history. When the aluminum can first came on the market back in the 1960s, it was the bane of everybody around. Because people would run by the roadsides, throw cans out the car windows like they like to do. If it was a steel can, come back a couple of weeks later, a little bit of rain, it would rust, it'd be gone. No one saw it. Aluminum, no. Aluminum sticks around. It doesn't rust. It doesn't degrade. And it became roadside litter. The industry recognized that problem and stepped up and started what we now have as the most effective recycling program going, recycling aluminum beverage cans. But what made it efficient, what made it practical, is you get 90% of the energy savings from bauxite ore. That doesn't happen with plastics, with paper. Paper is not infinitely recyclable, despite what people might like to think. The other thing, you think about plastics, the biggest knock on plastics is they don't degrade. That's why they're so great. You put plastics in a landfill, it stays there. It doesn't become a problem. Put paper in the landfill, it degrades. Litter plastics on the roadside, yeah, it looks bad. I don't like it. But at least it's not creating other problems. Leave paper on the roadside, it'll be gone in a while, but where'd it go? You're worried about global warming. It degrades, it gives off emissions of CO2, methane, global warming gases. I know a lot of people want to feel good about doing something for the environment. This makes you feel good, but it really doesn't solve the problem. If you want to solve the problem of microplastics in the environment, stop driving your cars, because the tire crumb from your rubber coming off your cars is creating more of a problem. And that washes off the streets, into the stormways, into the rivers and streams. And it don't matter if you're driving an internal combustion engine or an electric vehicle, you're still got the same problem. Let me come back to my demonstration. So, again, this is the straw that I picked up at Wegmans there, paper compostable straw. This is the straw I made. I taught physics. The demonstrations usually don't go so well, but, and I'm going to pass this around for you all to see. You can see that the paper straw, when I made out of real paper, absorbed a lot of the water. This is the straw that you're proposing to replace for the plastic straws. It doesn't absorb water. That's good, but why doesn't it? Because it's not paper. It's made of other materials as well. What's going to happen to those materials when they're tossed on the roadside? I also knew I would need this by this point. And I appreciate your patience. I sent you about an 8-page email documenting all the steps in the process in which this is really not thoroughly thinking through all the facts. Again, plastics are inert. They don't cause the problems that everybody makes them out to. They don't look good, but the inert nature of the plastic materials is been documented by the World Health Organization as having no evidence that it causes any more problems other than the unsightliness of it. The energy that is going to be used to make the either reusable or the paper products more than offsets the energy that would have been saved from using the plastic products. And lastly, the reason I really think this sends the wrong message, and I appreciate all the people here, and I know your hearts are in this. You want to do something good for the environment, but the problem is this is too easy. This is not going to really solve the environmental problems. We got bigger environmental problems than replacing plastic bags. I sent you pictures. Just look in your grocery stores. How many other things you have that come in plastics? Why are they there? Because they save the food. They keep things fresher. They extend shelf life. They allow us to ship products all around the world. We need to do a lot more tougher things than just banning plastic bags if we really want to solve the problems in the environment. Do this if you want to, but it's not going to reduce global warming. It's going to increase it. It's not going to save the environment. It's going to have people taking, oh, this is a paper straw. I can throw it out. You're going to have more people littering. You got to educate people on what they need to do, what their individual practices are, and how they need to be more responsible environmental citizens. That's what we need, more educated people, not people who think they can just throw it out because it's paper and it's going to magically not hurt the environment. It still does. Thank you.
Thank you. And I definitely agree with the education piece of that, and I think that was kind of my comment earlier, that the goal here is to change the habits. So you're not just switching to paper, you're switching to reusable, where you don't throw things out. Any other public comment?
I see more of these cotton masks on the driveways, but they act in that I do plastic bags. I got you.
Hello, Board of Supervisors. Hello, everyone here. Thank you for coming out tonight and your work. Okay. My name is Joanne Rose. I've been a member of Tredyffrin Township. I've lived here for 46 years. I'm also a physician assistant. I'm an RN, and I'm a citizen of our planet, along with everyone here. I'm not so naive. You can tell I'm older. So I've learned a lot about the environment, and so that's why I came out tonight. So I wanted to say to you that our world has been flooded with plastic bags. They're all over the place, and we know it. It's just one thing, but it's a step in the right direction. So I wanted to read something that another resident of Tredyffrin wrote. And so it says, okay, many are aware of the statistics and hazards of continuing to put polluting, non-biodegradable plastic into our environment, from landfills to litter to waterways, and most alarmingly, to our food chain. Plastic bags have no place in our daily lives. There are simple, inexpensive alternatives to using plastic bags. It's a small step, and that's a straightforward decision to ban plastic bags in the right direction. So I hope you will do the right thing, and I hope we will continue to learn how to help our environment, because good planets are hard to find.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Phil Whitmer. I live on Kenland Road in Wayne. And with all due respect to the gentleman that talked about plastics and the efficiency, I don't think anyone here is claiming that banning plastic shopping bags or what single-use plastic bags is going to solve our environmental problems. I had a friend who said, environmentalism is not rocket science, it's more complicated. And we have a long, long way to go. But banning single-use plastic bags is certainly a start. And it's not a fair comparison to compare the resources required to produce one plastic bag versus the resources to produce, say, a cloth bag that will be used over and over and over again. I've got cloth shopping bags where the ink is wearing off of them, so I can't, tell where they came from. The other thing is, let's not minimalize either that the cost of overuse of plastic in our society is simply a question of aesthetics. In the last 50 years, our land birds have decreased by 29%. That's a staggering figure. But for our seabirds in the last 50 years, they've declined 70%. So I would ask the gentleman who does not see the harm in plastics to go tell that to the ocean-going bird that spends 95% of its life at sea and has starved to death because it swallowed plastic and it took up all of the room that there was in its stomach so it couldn't feed itself. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment?
Hi, Mike Viola from Stratford. First, I'd like to say I am Mike Viola. I would like to say I'm very proud of the township for being proactive and moving the plastic bag ban forward. It's truly a step in the right direction for making a better world for our children and helping us make progress against pollution and the challenges that plastics present. I think we've heard some of those tonight. It was enlightening to see how Europe is way ahead of us on these measures, and I'm glad this community is finally taking some steps to bring us into the 21st century. I think the bill is very logically constructed, and I think it follows a lot of reasonable steps taken by many other municipalities. We've seen entire states, major cities, and some of our surrounding townships take the same steps. I'm glad that we will be next. Change is never easy, and I'm sure we will all have to get used to some small changes, but that inconvenience shouldn't stop us from moving forward. The future health of our children and the world is worth it. We can all agree we want to leave a better place for future generations, so let's make that happen. I'm a big fan of sports metaphors, maybe a little too big, but Wayne Gretzky said, "Don't skate to where the puck is, skate to where the puck is going to be." Many are working to make this world cleaner and better. Let's go in that direction forward. Let's get this bill passed. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Cynthia Dixon. I live on Upper Gulf Road in Wayne. I thank the township for considering this. I think it's really important for our children and for ourselves. Just in terms of what was proposed in terms of marketing, I think the bags that I saw in Cape May a couple of years ago were really impressive, and I actually bought 4 of them because they did such a great job. And my niece was taking her kids to the Acme down there every day, and they were bringing back groceries in plastic bags. And I said, Katie, why don't you and the kids take these Acme bags that have a map of all the important, fun things for them to see along the way there and back. And there were great marketing bags and then the kids would see them as they walked along the boardwalk or along the mall, and they were showing all the other people what was available in the town. So I think things like that around the township would be great on the bags in the area to show off different historic sites or things of interest in Tredyffrin Township. So just a thought, way to market the township. So I'd like to share that.
Thank you. Any other public comment?
Hello, everyone. Tracy Viola from Stratford. Thanks so much for everyone that came out to support this, and thank you for your thoughts. Thank you for all the work that everyone did to create this ordinance. It really is, in my opinion, absolutely beautiful. Let's just, I have played the numbers game, right? And I'm going to actually go with some numbers to start, and then I'm going to go into something that's not numbers. So just to start, I do believe that science is real. I believe the overwhelming support of numbers and data that the EAC and myself have presented to you, consisting of 3 rounds of qualitative and quantitative research, I believe that that is real. I believe that 77 countries, 9 states, New York City, the cities of Pittsburgh and the city of Philadelphia, and countless other cities and municipalities, including Easttown and Radnor just this summer, that have also banned single-use plastics for the health and safety of their environment, wildlife and humans, etc. I believe that's real. As Maya Angelou said, when you know better, you do better. And we know better. Is this a perfect solution? Nope. Will we probably have to make adjustments to the ordinance as we learn things that we didn't think of? Probably, yep. What we're looking for right now, as I heard a few people mention, is progress. We're looking for progress, not perfection, and this is a step in the right direction. Stepping outside of science and numbers for a moment, I'd like to take a look at our feelings. Change is hard. Change is scary. And while this is, in the grand scheme of things, a small ask, it probably feels pretty uncomfortable for people that aren't used to this and that are not supportive of this, and I respect that uncomfortability. You'll be learning a new muscle memory as you remember to grab those bags from your passenger side car or from your trunk before going into the store, but I know that we can do this. And I ask that instead of thinking, ugh, I'm doing this because of that jerk at the board meeting, that you instead think and shift your reaction to, I'm making this small change for something bigger. We're all part of something bigger, and we're just making this step in the right direction for our township. Not very long ago, we had to remember these everywhere we went, anytime we walked into a store. And I don't know about you, but in the beginning I'd get out of my car and I'd walk up to the store and I'd see the sign that said, masks required. Did you forget your mask? And I'd think, oh my God, yes, I did. And I'd just, shoulders slumped, I'd walk back to my car, and I'd open my car, and I'd get out my mask, and I'd walk back up to the store. And then guess what happened? About 4 or 5 times after that happened, I just started to remember my mask. And that's what I truly believe will happen for everybody when it comes to their reusable bags. Those first 4 or 5 times, you're going to walk up and you're going to see that sign and you're going to say, I did forget my reusable bag. You're going to go back to your car and you're going to get it, and then you're just going to remember it. So I think it's ironic that my husband also used a sports reference because I concluded mine with one. I said, to conclude, much like 76ers basketball, I'm asking you all to trust the process. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Any other comments? All right, hearing none, this is a roll call vote, and I'll start with Supervisor Humble.
I'm voting no. I guess I can only give my vote, right? Not my explanation.
You can give an explanation.
I don't like ordinances or rules that single out one certain thing for being banned, in this case, the plastic bags or the plastic straws, when there's so many other plastic things out there that are really a scourge, you know, all over this township and elsewhere. Useless things that people don't need for any reason that are just sold en masse, and they're small and tiny, and they end up polluting all of our green spaces and our wildlife as well. Additionally, I get plastic bags from other places where I shop in the township that say they're made from 100% recycled material. And I think that that should count for something in the use or provision of plastic bags, is that these are already used to recycling things. I bought a Diet Coke today. I couldn't believe it. The bottle said made from 100% recycled plastic bottles, which I think is progress. I know, at least in my home, and I know many other people, they don't use these plastic bags as single use. We put them in the waste baskets in bathrooms. When my kids were little, I put diapers in them instead of buying new bags of diapers at the store, which would have just added to the plastic bags. I think a lot of other people put, really gross or nasty trash or picking up from their dogs in these plastic bags, and I wish we could outlaw trash. We kind of have, right? Littering is not legal. So, but I understand we can't catch all the people who are littering and that there's a lot of problems, but I feel like the ordinance as presented doesn't do all that's needed or take into consideration the extra costs of transporting paper and such versus plastic. So I know my vote is the unpopular one tonight, but I just wanted to say my reasons why. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Supervisor Holt.
This fool votes aye.
Supervisor Wysocki.
Aye.
Supervisor Freed.
Aye.
Supervisor Basker.
I'm voting aye, but I also want to add that the longest journey is the one that is never begun. And when you're starting a journey, there's always a reason why not to take that first step, because you can say it's a long journey, I'm tired, I don't think I'll make the end. But you got to take that first step, and even the longest journey starts with that first step. So I'm glad we're taking that first step now. I think we will, at least for me, this is the beginning of a journey, not the end. Thank you. I vote aye.
And I vote aye as well, so the motion carries. And I am going to close the public hearing for HR 454. And thank you, everyone who came out to speak tonight. All right, and we are going to move on to the next public hearing, and I call to order the public hearing for HR 455 to consider approving appointment of solicitor, interest assessment, and attorney fees and collection fees added to the amount collected as part of unpaid real estate taxes and municipal claims for delinquent accounts. Mr. McKenna.
Thank you, Dr. Gussie. For this hearing, I have marked the following board exhibits. Board Exhibit 1 is the proof of publication of the notice in the Daily Local News on September 2nd, 2022. Board Exhibit 2 is the proof of publication of the notice in the Mainline Times Suburban, dated September 11th, 2022. Board Exhibit 3 is the email sent to the public hearing distribution list about the ordinance and the notice, dated August 24th, 2022. And Board Exhibit 4 is a draft of the actual ordinance itself. Those are the board exhibits for this hearing.
Thank you. Do we have a motion to adopt HR 455?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Do we have any board comment? Do we have any public comment? Hearing none, this is another roll call vote. Supervisor Humble.
Aye.
Supervisor Holt.
Aye.
Supervisor Wysocki.
Aye.
Supervisor Freed.
Aye.
Supervisor Basker.
Aye.
And I vote aye. Motion carries, and I close the public hearing for HR 455. And I call to order the public hearing for HR 456 to consider and possibly adopt the ordinance to approve a zoning text amendment for O Office District and map amendment for 1340 West Weedsford Road. Mr. McKenna.
Thank you, Dr. Gussie. As this is a zoning amendment and a map amendment, there are significantly more board exhibits. Board Exhibit 1 is the proof of publication of the notice in the Daily Local News on September 2nd, and September 9th, both for the Daily Local News. The proof of publication in the Mainline Times and Suburban is marked as Board Exhibit 2. That was from September 4th, 2022. Board Exhibit 3 is the email sent to the public hearing distribution list dated August 24th, 2022. Board Exhibit 4 is the draft of the ordinance itself. Board Exhibit 5 is an affidavit of posting of the notice on August 16th, 2022. Board Exhibit 6 is an affidavit of mailing of the notice of the hearing on August 16th, 2022. Board Exhibit 7 is the packet with the draft ordinance that was sent to the Chester County Law Library on August 24th, 2022. And Board Exhibit 8 is the Chester County Planning Commission review letter for the proposed ordinance and map amendment. Those are the board exhibits for this evening. I will note for the record that this was a petition that was submitted by the equitable owner of a property whose counsel is here this evening in case anyone has any questions, but I don't think they're expected to make a presentation otherwise.
Thank you. Do we have a motion to adopt H.R. 456?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any board comment? Any public comment?
Sorry.
Oh.
No, just a quick comment, which is that it's an interesting commentary that, when I first came to the U.S. in 1975, I didn't see any of the self-storage units, and now they're, I guess it's a statement of our times that they're all over. So I think that it's entirely appropriate that as a municipality we recognize the fact that society has changed, that people have a need to store things, and I think that going through the formality of actually recognizing it and stating it and including it in our zoning codes is an appropriate thing to do.
Madam Chair, as long as, I wasn't going to make a comment, but I'll just make a brief comment. This is the site that's going to be most impacted by this, and it's not just going to affect one site, but is a terrifically good site for this type of use. It also happens to be a few yards from where the O zone already is. Essentially, we're just extending the line, probably where the line should have been in the first place. The alternatives that were looked at to try and accommodate, these sites, one of them was to actually change some of the other zones. The concern was unintended consequences. So this is what I think is a good solution for a good site for a good use.
Thank you. Any other board comment? Any public comment? Okay, hearing none. Supervisor Humble?
Aye.
Supervisor Holt?
Aye.
Supervisor Wysocki?
Aye.
Supervisor Freed?
Aye.
Supervisor Basker?
Aye.
And I vote aye. Motion carries, and I close the public hearing for H.R. 456. Thank you very much. And now I call to order the public meeting, and we will begin with announcements. The board would like to acknowledge the service of John Myers to the Township as a member of the Municipal Authority. John served the authority from April 2007 through July 2022, and during that time he served as the chair and vice chair and as the Township's representative to the Joint Sewer Authority Board. John passed away suddenly on August 9th, and the board expresses its condolences to John's family.
Madam Chair, just real quick, two things I want to say about John. One is he did township work, he worked very hard on the municipal authority. The other part of it is he was a terrifically nice guy, just a very, very nice guy. And it's tragic, and my heart breaks. I know some of my kids know his kids, and it's sad, and I appreciate you and the township saying something.
Thank you for adding those sentiments.
I just had one comment, which is I did not really know John personally, but The one time that I really had an interaction with him was back in 2020. At the height of the pandemic, I was able to make a bulk purchase of a large number of KN95 masks, and I offered them to anyone that was volunteering as a poll worker. And John came by to get some masks. And, we chatted outside on the driveway. And I have to say, I was impressed by the fact that he was such a happy guy. It was one of those things, he had a smile on his face. And when I talked to him, he said, "I'm the happiest guy in the world. I couldn't ask for anything more." And I think that, for all of us, that's very important. I certainly took a lesson away from that one meeting.
Thank you.
I would like to add that John was very big proponent of the Open Land Conservancy here, and he spent a lot of work helping them out and furthering that organization. I think that's very important to the township as well as people personally. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, I will continue with the announcements. We hope to see everyone at Community Day on Saturday, October 8th from 2 to 6 p.m. at Wilson Farm Park. The October 5th Board of Supervisors meeting has been moved to October 6th at 7 p.m. at the Township Building to present the 2023 preliminary budget. There remain open positions on the Park and Recreation Board, Historical Commission, Library Foundation Board, and Municipal Authority. Send your letter of interest and brief resume to tredyffrin@tredyffrin.org. And in observance of Columbus Day, the Township offices will be closed Monday, October 10th. And we will now move to the approval of minutes. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes of the August 15th, 2022 public meeting?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Motion carries. And we move to Township business. The board met in executive session prior to this meeting to discuss legal matters. And now supervisor liaison reports, and we'll start with Supervisor Humble.
Thank you, Chair Gussie. The Parks and Recreation Board met on September the 14th, which was last Wednesday, at Wilson Farm Park in one of the pavilions. And the reason for the meeting was because 30 minutes prior to that, a group from the Parks Board did a walkthrough of Wilson Farm Park to survey a part of the park that a group has been petitioning the Parks Board to put in a disc golf course. At first they were going for 18 holes disc golf course, and that would have required the removal of quite a bit of the wild natural area of the park, upsetting much of the wildlife there and their food sources such as insects and such. So they had reduced their ask to 9 holes, and so the various members of the Parks Board wanted to go survey that themselves and invited the public to join them to go look at just what kind of an impact that would have. We did have many people speak up about the potential of a disc golf course, and the Environmental Advisory Committee was there as well to give their opinions about this. The matter is moved on for another month because there are still questions about it as to cost, exactly more detail about what the impact would be, and whether or not township residents actually want this project because it's being asked for by individuals who do not live in the township. Second, we had a presentation from 2 middle school students, or actually one is now in 9th grade, Ronan Lynch and Dom Pecora. They have been petitioning Parks and Rec Board since the summer about building a bicycle skills park. This time they've proposed putting it in Mill Road Park. There's a lot of open land there. It's easily accessible by the different trails in Chesterbrook, as well as from Chester Valley Trail to get there. And it wouldn't involve kids crossing any major roadways such as North Valley Forge Road to get to somewhere, or having to be driven to a bicycle park. So that one again, because they're proposing it in Mill Road Park and have a specific area of land, there's a subcommittee from Parks and Rec Board that is going to walk through that space in the meantime before the next Park and Rec meeting to determine what the impact might be. The board also considered again the question of a fenced-in dog park and various parks within Tredyffrin where it might be feasible to do it, and as well as inquiring of Chesterbrook's its Civic Association of whether the owners of the Chesterbrook land would be willing to put in the dog park since there's so much request for it to be in Chesterbrook. We have a little free library that's been completed and installed in Woodbine Park. This fabulous job was done by Hope Fogelsberger for her Girl Scout project. And we heard about from the EAC about doing restoration in Krabby Creek. And we also heard about a proposal by CHOP in KOP, Children's Hospital Philadelphia in KOP, wants to put a mural in for 2 to 6 weeks in Wilson Farm Park, and in exchange they're offering $500 to the Parks Foundation or to the Township. The Parks Board asked me what I thought of it, and I said, you know, they're essentially looking to advertise and put up a billboard, in my mind, in Wilson Farm Park, and I think that their request for their price is way too low for that kind of advertising. Finally, we do have, as was announced first of all, we do have Community Day coming up, so we would really like for everybody to come out to that. It's for the community. Lots of stuff is free, and it's going to be exciting. It always is. I'm hoping it'll be a little bit cooler this year than what we had last year. And finally, we had a presentation by 2 juniors at Conestoga requesting to put tennis ball collection receptacles on the tennis courts in the Tredyffrin parks. They've got a fabulous nonprofit that they've started called Add Plus Air. And what they do is they collect these old dead tennis balls, they can put them in these containers and repressurize them. And then they can make available all these dead balls back to other people who might want to use them, whether it's people at the Y or people at the high schools or the middle schools for the tennis teams. And it's a great way to keep those out of the environment. They said that the balls can be repressured numerous times until the ball wears out with the felt, which is usually 4 years. So the board approved that unanimously. They thought that was a terrific thing. So other than that, the next meeting for Parks and Rec Board will be Wednesday, October 12th, 7 p.m. here in Keene Hall. Thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor Holt?
Thank you. I attended the pension trustees meeting on September 7th. Not much to report, except our investment advisors and trustees are closely watching market conditions to determine if any adjustments need to be made. On September 13th, the Library Foundation Board met. The upcoming Gulf fundraiser for the libraries on September 29th was discussed extensively. Tickets for lunch and dinner are still available. It'll be a great event at St. David's Golf Club, so please consider coming out. And I would like to emphasize that there are at least 2 open positions on the Library Foundation Board. It's a wonderful way to give back to our community and help our library. Please consider volunteering. Thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor Wysocki?
Yes. I have two reports, Zoning Hearing Board and Planning Commission. And I want to thank my fellow supervisor, David Miller. I stepped in for him at the Zoning Hearing Board, which was on August 25th. And I thank him, though he's not here. I wanted to publicly do that. I wanted for letting me be at that meeting, and also, more importantly, thank him for his notes. The Zoning Hearing Board met on August 25th and considered 3 matters. First matter, they granted a 1-year extension for an application regarding 895 Upper Gulf Road, for a variance, an extension of 1 year for a variance to allow for the expansion of a garage into a front yard setback. So we won't hear that for another year or so. Secondly, there was an application relating to 958 Mount Pleasant Avenue, Wayne, located in an R4 residential district for a special exception to construct a twin dwelling. That application was strongly opposed by the neighborhood. I know that for a fact because I heard from other neighbors who, even though I wasn't at the meeting, and David Miller saw it stated right there at that meeting. They felt that a twin dwelling would have an adverse effect on the character of the neighborhood. The entire neighborhood is single-family dwellings. And there were other comments. The zoning board considered those comments, and the zoning board will announce its decision at the next meeting on September 22nd. Lastly, there was an appeal relating to 564 Pugh Road in Wayne for a variance to exceed the maximum building coverage of 20% to 28.88%, where 20.70% is existing, and a variance to exceed the maximum impervious coverage of 30% to 77.61%, where 69.44% is existing, to construct an addition. I give you the numbers there in detail because they're important when you're talking about impervious coverage and building coverage. Now, the question was, here, there was an extensive discussion, as I understand it, on stormwater runoff and control. And there was some question about the quality and accuracy of the calculations, something about how much patio are they removing. I wasn't at that meeting, so I don't know the detail, but these are the notes that David Miller said. So there was a lot of controversy with this. And one of the comments was maybe made more by more than one person is the township is spending millions controlling stormwater in this area. Why should any variances be permitted? And that was apparently some of the comments there. The applicant will return apparently at the next meeting with the property owner and engineer and verified accurate calculations and to take up the discussion again. So that was the third appeal considered by the zoning hearing board. The next meeting of the zoning hearing board is on September 22. Now we're going to move to the Planning Commission. The Planning Commission met on September 15 and considered 3 matters also. First, the Planning Commission reviewed and discussed a petition for a zoning amendment from Canoe Brook Development in connection with property located at the southeast corner of the intersection of Old Eagle School Road and Sweetsford Road in the O Office District, identified as 750 East Sweetsford Road. The property is adjacent to the Lifetime Athletic and Fitness Facility. The applicant is proposing an amendment to the township's zoning ordinance to introduce a new use identified as a compatible multifamily dwelling or apartment house in the O Office District, subject to certain design criteria. Applicant stated that the intent of this amendment is to provide for a multifamily residential use auxiliary to a large health club and/or hotel. That's one of those facilities with a minimum gross floor area of 75,000 square feet. Thereby providing residents an opportunity to live next to a health and/or hotel facilities and enjoy their complementary amenities. After a lengthy presentation by the applicant, the Planning Commission discussed and continued consideration of this application to a subsequent meeting. I say subsequent meeting because I'm not sure whether it's going to be at the next meeting or not. The Planning Commission considered two other matters. The second matter addressed by the Planning Commission was a short-term rental enforcement ordinance proposed by the Township. The proposed ordinance is a new standalone ordinance to detail the permit process and the registration procedure for short-term rentals, the conduct required for owners and tenants, and the enforcement process and penalties upon the failure to comply with the short-term rental ordinance. After extensive Planning Commission discussion and public comment, the Planning Commission, subject to conditions, recommended the ordinance favorably to the Board of Supervisors. Lastly, the last matter addressed by the Planning Commission was an ordinance proposed by the Township permitting short-term rental as a use by special exception for historic resources in R1-half and R1 residential zoning districts. Again, after extensive Planning Commission discussion and public comment, the Planning Commission, subject to conditions, recommended the ordinance favorably to the Board of Supervisors. The next meeting of the Planning Commission is on October 22nd. Thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor Freed.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The next meeting of the Historic Commission will be this Wednesday, the 21st, right here in the Township building. Thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor Basker.
Thank you, Dr. Gussie. So I'm going to preface my comments by saying that, for the boards that I'm a liaison to, I could spend literally tens of minutes to half an hour or more sort of going through in detail what was said and discussed, because the discussions are very active. So what I try to do is actually to summarize what I think are the salient points and what are the interesting points. For anyone who is interested in the weeds, please do attend the meetings or, read the minutes or, come talk to me afterwards. We can certainly go through those, but I try not to take up the time of the other supervisors and the citizens with all of the, with lots of detail. So with that preface, the Environmental Advisory Council met on August 23rd, and the EAC approved a Weeds Inc. proposal for invasive vegetation control in Krabby Creek. I have an editorial comment here, which is as part of, getting knowledgeable about this. I walked in Krabby Creek Park for the first time in the 24 years that I've lived in Tredyffrin, and I was impressed. It's an impressive place. If you haven't been there, I recommend it. It's not old growth forest, but it is secondary forest, and it has grown, and there's a lot of understory there, and you can see where there are invasive plants that have come along the trails and along the streams, which have been carried down perhaps or brought by dogs and by people walking. But if you look further up, there aren't that many invasive plants. So it was really an interesting morning from an ecological point of view. I learned a lot. And certainly I recommend it to anyone who cares to go out there. So the AAC moved to have the Board of Supervisors reaffirm Tredyffrin as a designated bird town. Back in 2014, the town was affirmed as a bird town with the bird town, designation by the Audubon Society at that time. But since then, Bird Town has been spun out of the Audubon Society. It's now an independent organization. And so the EAC voted to ask the Board of Supervisors to reaffirm what was previously affirmed, to make Tredyffrin a bird town. But again, the reaffirmation would be with the new bird town rather than with the old Audubon Society. And Associate Member Phil Whitmer, who is with Bird Town, is holding bird walks on Saturday, September 24th and Sunday, October 23rd. So there will be great opportunities for to see migrating birds that are passing through the area, as well as our year-round avian residents. And again, making a personal comment, I have to say that there are a lot more birds here in Tredyffrin than I saw in the Amazon basin when I was there in Ecuador some years ago. So literally every morning when I take a walk, or when the dog takes me for a walk, every morning we hear lots of birds. And this is truly an amazing place for birds. So moving on, the EAC decided to write a formal letter to the Board of Supervisors asking for supporting the Woodland Conservation Ordinance and asking us to prioritize it. The EAC decided to support a grant application in the EAC's name, along with other local nonprofits, for a zero waste plan source reduction grant. And the rain garden program evaluated 8 applications from residents for rain gardens and pruned it down to 3 for further evaluation. So the next EAC board meeting is at the Township building here on Tuesday, September 27th at 7 p.m. And I certainly, if anyone thinks meetings are long, boring meetings, come to an EAC meeting. They're lively meetings and, you will enjoy them. The Library Board of Trustees met on August 25th, and September 15th is Library Card Sign-Up Month. So if you or your family don't have library cards, this would be a great time to get some or to renew your expired library cards. The Library Board of Trustees recommended for reappointment Johanna Pasiolo, Nancy Talley, and Jennifer Whipp, whose terms expire next month. And then as Johanna represents, she occupies one of the Willistown seats on the Board of Trustees. So her membership must also be recommended by the Willistown Board of Supervisors. So we expect that to be on the Board of Supervisors agenda for October. And Nancy Talley represents the Tredyffrin Libraries on the Chester County Library System Advisory Council. And she recommended that from the EAC that there are specific grant funding that is available and that they're reviewing funding sharing formulas. The Friends of Tredyffrin Public Library book sale in July netted $2,800 and sold around 3,700 books. Kate Corrigan described the process they go through for donated books. So basically when they take donations, they try and get the most value and sort of move down in different ways of passing on the books. But there was also a discussion on how to get more space as they're running out of space for storing the books. The library on August 15th, and unfortunately we, the board, were over here instead of listening to this classical music concert that was going on in the library. There was a classical Indian music concert which was very well received. Apparently it was performed to a full house, and there were some extremely artistic accompanying displays on Indian history and culture, mostly created by talented Tredyffrin resident Milind Damankar. Moving on, the library is hosting a number of events with author Jean Hanf Kurelitz next week. So please check the library website for details. And library visits continue to increase, but are still at 50% of pre-pandemic levels at Stratford and about 75% at Paoli. Overall circulation, including e-materials, circulation is up. The next meeting of the Library Board of Trustees is on Thursday, September 22nd at the Stratford Library at 7:30 p.m. And I'm not going to mention golf, much as people are crazy about golf, because Supervisor Holt has already mentioned the golf tournament. And I'm also the liaison to the Traffic Committee. The Traffic Committee will meet here Wednesday, September 21st at 7:30 a.m. So you need to wake up early to attend that, unlike our other meetings. So with that, thank you, Supervisor Gussie.
Thank you. And I realize I missed one of my statements, which is the board also met in executive session on September 6th to discuss legal matters. Now we will move on to the motion to authorize staff to advertise and receive bids for the Tredyffrin Library roof repairs. Ms. McPherson.
Chairwoman Gassi, members of the board, thank you. Yeah, as you may know, the library has a lot of issues with leakage. Pretty much anytime it rains, we're guaranteed to have some sort of leak in the library. We did commission, or the board commissioned, Hamill and Associates back in the beginning of 2021 to do a feasibility study. And then in December of last year, we authorized them to design the replacement roof. At this time, I guess part of that design is the mechanical equipment is in a recessed well, which basically is like a pool on top of the roof, which obviously does not help with leaking. So their design actually elevates that roof section, and then there will be a wall, a designed wall that will hide the mechanical equipment, and will have signage for the library. So at this time, we're asking the Board of Supervisors to approve the advertisement and receipt of bids.
Thank you. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any board discussion?
Yeah, I would like to say that I think this is needed. We've had cases in the library where water has just leaked in. Sometimes it has destroyed books of the Tredyffrin, Friends of the Tredyffrin Public Library. You know, I think we could do better here in Tredyffrin than have a library where every time it rains, people would need to run around with buckets or something like that to stop the drips. You know, we deserve a better library. That's a great building, so let's move forward with this.
Thank you. Any other board comments? Any public comment? All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Next, we have a motion to approve 641 and 643 Wheatley Road lot line change. Ms. McPherson.
Thank you, Chairwoman Gassi and members of the board. Yeah, this is a lot line change between 641 and 643 Wheatley Road. There's no planned improvements to either of the property. It's a simple lot line change. It was reviewed by the Chester County Planning Commission with no really planning concerns or issues. The Township Planning Commission did review the plan at their August 18th meeting. They did have a list of waivers, which are provided in my memo. I won't go point by point with them. Most of those waivers are a result of them being existing properties. Again, there's no improvements to the properties. It's just a simple lot line. And the board did make the Planning Commission did make a recommendation by a vote of 6-0 to approve the lot line plan. So the staff is now requesting that the board approve the plan.
Thank you. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any board comment?
Actually, I don't have a comment, but I have a question, which is why, you know, I mean, in general, I can't really object if two neighbors agree to changing a lot line and, you know, and it doesn't really affect anything else, which is what this sounds like. But at the same time, I'm wondering, why do it? Is it straightening out property line? Is it improving water flow? Is it allowing someone to, you know, to build a tree, or, I mean, to plant a tree or something like that? It's just something that I don't understand why it's being done.
I mean, the applicant is here. I don't know if they want to address that issue. I think at the Planning Commission, they did just talk about, you know, their want for the additional land.
My name's Jim Costello. I own 643 Wheatley. I bought the property like 23 years ago, and at that time, Tredyffrin Township had 1 acre minimum lots. The long property, we've been great neighbors for years. She's going to sell the property, and the back of the end of the property, she has fenced off 23 years ago. She has put a pool in there too. I've taken care of this property for 23 years. Any of the dead trees that came down, I had them removed. I paid for any kind of maintenance on the property. I planted trees on the property. It's just when she sells the property, I'd rather have that property mine. It's just that simple. I'm not going to build anything on it, just going to have the property for myself. And the way I have a flag lot, and the way the property's laid out, that borders my driveway. Everybody always thought it was my property anyway in the beginning, you know, so. But that's it. It's just that simple. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Aaron, just will both parcels still maintain the minimum size for the district?
Yes, they'll meet all the bulk and area requirements in zoning.
All right, any other board comments? Any other public comments? All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Next, we have a motion to approve the proposal from Dukes for an I&I microdetection study. Mr. Fitzgerald.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. Staff is requesting authorization from the board for inspection of and mapping of the Lancaster Avenue sanitary sewer basin. This inspection will include an I&I study, manhole inspections, GPS mapping of all the manholes, and a rapid assessment of approximately 12,700 feet of sanitary sewer line. This inspection will direct the township crews to the area that are detected by the inspection that need further inspection and repair. As part of this project, we will be able to update our sanitary sewer maps to make them more accurate. We worked with our sewer engineer, Brown & Caldwell, to finalize these specifications and feel it is a good starting point to complete inspections in the mapping process. This project will be done by Dukes, who have been using for years for our root control program. The cost for this project is $30,703, which is under the CoSTARS program and will be funded from the sanitary sewer fund. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any board comment? Any public comment? All right, hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Next, we have a motion to approve proposal from Aspirin Consulting Group for accreditation professional services. Captain Brown.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. The police department is seeking approval to enter into a professional services agreement with Aspirin Consulting Group to assist in policy development and accreditation. The Aspirin Consulting Group has estimated that this project should be completed in only 6 to 7 months. This is largely due to Lieutenant Moyers and Superintendent Beatty's recently updating the policies. The total amount of the agreement is $13,900, which will be paid in 2 installments. The first in 2022 of $6,950. That is currently in our budget, so it won't affect anything. And the additional payment in 2023, and we are able to reallocate some funds, so we're not going to be making any changes to our 2023 budget for that also.
Thank you. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any board comment? Any public comment? All right, hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Next, we have a motion to approve 2023 minimal municipal obligations for police and non-uniformed pensions. Captain Brown?
That would be me.
Or no? Oh, sorry, I got that wrong. Mr. Duraco.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Tonight, as required...
He would like to see increased pensions at a level of 100%.
As required by the state, I have for the board to approve the minimum municipal obligation, the MMO, which is effectively the bill for the pension plans for the township. For 2023, the non-uniform pension plan MMO is going to be $378,057. So an increase of about $6,000 over last year. And the MMO for the police pension plan next year is going to be $1,529,321. That is about a $45,000 increase over the current year MMO. However, looking forward to the budget process, we have $1.5 million already in the budget, so we've overfunded the MMO. So the budget impact for next year is only going to be about $30,000. In total, we're a little over $1.9 million, which will be offset by state aid. Last year, our state aid was about $680,000. We haven't gotten our allocation for this year yet, so we used last year. So we expect the net pension cost to be around $1.2 million. Happy to answer any questions.
Thanks. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Any board comment?
Actually, I have a question. So essentially, an aye vote on this from a supervisor is essentially an aye vote for Tredyffrin to meet state law. And a nay vote is basically a vote for Tredyffrin to essentially break state law.
That would be a good way to sum it up, yes.
All right, any public comment? Okay, and all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Next, we have a motion to authorize staff to advertise and receive bids for Phase 2 of the Public Works Sewer Department renovations. Mr. Duraco.
Thank you, Madam Chair. If the board remembers, late in 2018, we started the Public Works renovation projects. First, the largest portion of that project was the new building, which is currently under construction. We're limping along to completion, just a lot of supply chain issues there. But we decided to phase the project because we thought it would net us better costs. We're ready to bid out Phase 2 of the project, which is really an expansion of some offices as well as the renovations of the locker rooms and the kitchen, the facility where the guys eat and get ready in the morning. And so that's what we're here to authorize, or ask for authorization. We estimate the cost of Phase 2 to be between $450,000 and $550,000. This is in the budget for this year, and it is sewer funds since it's for the expansion of the sewer department. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any comment from the board? Any public comment? Okay, hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Next, we have a motion to authorize township staff and township solicitor to work together to investigate single hauler trash services. Mr. Duraco.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Last month, we were notified that Republic Services will no longer be providing waste collection in the township, recycling as well. And so township staff used that opportunity to take a step back and think about our trash collection services as a whole. The EAC has been a proponent of moving towards single hauler, and so we recommend at this time that it would be a good time for the township to consider moving to a single hauler. And so that's what we're here to ask for authorization for tonight.
Thank you. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, any board comment?
Yes, I had seen the information as well that the Republic, I guess it was going to work exclusively with Easttown Township and had already notified their customers in Tredyffrin that they would need to find another provider. Of the ones that are, I guess, licensed with the township already, I know Whitetail Services was on the list, but they don't represent a very big portion of the township. I received information yesterday that A.J. Blazinski, who's the other big provider in the township, has been bought out by another provider. I'm a customer of Blazinski, and I haven't received formal notice from them yet and to what that will mean. But they've been bought out by a much bigger company, and so what that might mean that they might offer in terms of services to the township. Hopefully it'll be lower prices based on volume of services, but I think it's a good idea to investigate this. Thank you.
Any other board comment? Public comment?
Yes, so I'm really excited. I'm Susanne Hay. I live at 278 Colquitt Lane. I'm an associate member of the EAC. Very excited to hear that this motion is being discussed now. Like a single hauler has many advantages, and environmental advantages and cost issues as well. So it's pretty certain that the costs will be better for the residents with a single hauler. In addition, there will be other trash companies, for instance, the company in Birdsboro that only services municipalities and not individual residences. So our spectrum actually will become larger when we have a single hauler for the entire municipality. But I would also like to stress that we need to look at recycling and composting options in addition to trash hauling. And it kind of circles back to the plastic bag and single-use plastics. People really don't understand what can get recycled. Different haulers have different recycling options and rules. And so if every household has the same rules, we can better educate our residents on how to properly recycle. And composting is just as important because right now the majority of the solid waste in Chester County solid waste in our landfill basically, 30 to 40% are organics, followed by 30% of paper, and all those decompose in the landfills producing methane gas, which is a greenhouse gas that is much more potent than carbon dioxide. So in summary, I would really like to make sure that it's not just about a single hauler, but that recycling, composting go into this discussion. And I would hope that the EAC will have a place at this table as the discussion moves forward between the solicitor and the staff. That's my comment. Thank you.
Yes, Madam Chair, I want to thank you for those comments. I think that's a very good comments. I think we need to think about those things, and it does, particularly based on your comments, I do think it makes sense to have the EAC at the table because I think you're going to bring a perspective that is going to help make sure that it's not just cost effective and service wise, but also environmentally conscious. Thank you.
Yeah, I would also like to thank Ms. Hay for the comments, and I know, and the Board of Supervisors knows this, but I just want to state this for the Township, that she has spent a lot of time analyzing this and brought it to our attention, long before the public decided to pull out, and I think that, she's done a lot of research, and she'd be happy to talk to anyone who would like more information. And I'm volunteering her, but I do see her nodding her head. Thank you.
Quick question, maybe Billy can answer this. It's a contract with the, I guess whatever lowest bidder or responsible bidder provider, and then do we bill our residents or will the provider be billed?
That's one of the things we'll have to talk about. Generally, yeah, the haulers want us to do that. It gets a little complicated. You could do it, the more you change the contract, depending you put on the hauler, the more expensive it becomes. So one of the things we'll look at is what those two options, how we want to proceed on that. But it'll be a 3 or 5, depending on what kind of contract we want to put together and how long and what we want to put in there, and how much, is it 1 day a week, twice a week, recycling, bulk pickup. There's a lot of moving parts we'll have to figure out when we put it together.
Yeah, and one other thing also that we would need to consider on that is really what services would we want them to offer. So for example, I'm probably an outlier, but one service that we use from Brzezinski is we basically just buy labels from them at, I don't know what the latest price is, but maybe it's $7 or $8 each, and basically about once a month, every 5 or 6 weeks, we put out a 33-gallon bag of trash with a label on it, so we don't have a weekly pickup. And I know that cities like Seattle, for example, have a mini can option, and you can't put more than a mini can's worth of trash. So, one of the things, clearly there's a lot of work involved in this on the part of Township staff, and I think that one of the things going forward is that we will work with the residents and with the EAC to figure out what the options are that people want, what are the options that are economically, economical to offer, and which will be, make a success, because we want this program to succeed.
Hi, my name is Radke Boerema. I'm a member of the EAC. We wrote a clean energy transition plan, and this is one of our suggestions we were making, because this is a really great opportunity to reduce our mileage in the township and also to reduce the amount of methane. I think one other important consideration is Mill Road. I think it would be great if we can get more of the compost to Mill Road, because then we are going to drive less. So if we can have some sort of industrial composting, if we can also take that into consideration, I think that would be a good thing. I know Mill Road is now a hot topic because we have the biking park there. We think about, I think they have to weigh for MS4, also at Mill Road Park, right? And now we are also thinking about having extra composting. I think it's a big site. I think there are a lot of possibilities. I think it's just really important that we keep all these options in mind and that we can do everything. And I really support that Susanna is going to join the committee to investigate everything. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, Tracy Viola again, still from Stratford. I'm super excited about this. This is absolutely amazing. We've been talking about this in the EAC for a while now, and Susanna has done so much research. It's absolutely amazing. So yes, I'm also voting for her to be at the table as well for the information on this. Yes to composting. And again, I know this is like the very beginning of the road of this conversation. But one of the other things to consider, I'm not sure if it's been mentioned yet by my counterparts here, is I think I did hear emissions and just the fact that we'll have less haulers, less huge trucks on the road driving up and down, causing emissions in our air, as well as damage to our roadways. These are enormous trucks and causing the damage to our roadways, so it'll be much more consistent, less noise pollution. And I'll speak for myself, I live on a small, beautiful cul-de-sac. We have over 20 children on our very small little cul-de-sac, and it can be very dangerous. We have 3 different haulers that go down that street on Mondays and Thursdays, and so just thinking about the danger to our younger population, they're running around, they're playing, so yes to all of this. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Any other public comment? All right, hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Next, we have a motion to authorize the township manager to execute the documents associated with the Green Light Go grant. Mr. Martin.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. This is pretty straightforward tonight, just need official authorization from the board to give me the power to sign the document for the Green Light Go grant program. As you know, Governor Wolf announced the winners of the grant program in this summer. Tredyffrin is receiving $976,880 for a Green Light Go program, to which will include signal upgrades and ADA ramps for 5 intersections from Walker Road through past Gateway. So this is just one of the formalities to allow me to sign those documents and get the grant program rolling. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any board comment? Any public comment? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Next, we have a motion to adopt Resolution 2022-17 to authorize staff to apply for the 2022 PICO Green Region Open Space Program grant on behalf of the Open Lands Conservancy. Mr. Burgo.
Madam Chair, members of the board, the following grant application is a PICO Green Region Open Space grant. The township would be the applicant on behalf of the Open Lands Conservancy, and the large portion of this grant would be removal of invasive Phragmites plant growth that's actually in the Valley Creek watershed, specifically in one of their preserve areas behind Tree Line Drive. And they have 2 areas where it's kind of overgrown with a thick growth of Phragmites, and they're looking to remove those and try to encourage additional growth of more native species of floodplain vegetation. As part of that, they are applying for $2,500, I believe it is, and there is a match that's there that either the Open Lands Conservancy or the Miller Fund will provide the matching money for that. The township doesn't have a cost to us. We would just be the applicant. So Ray Clark is here on behalf of the Open Lands Conservancy. He wanted to say one or two things just for the grant.
Just really quickly, I think we have a very compelling project here that the PICO Open Space will be happy to fund. We have, thanks to work with many of the township staff, much appreciated, come up with a pretty good grant application. This will definitely help stop the spread of this invasive grass from our Valley Creek Preserve downstream through Chesterbrook Open Space, Valley Forge National Historic Park. It's definitely a good project, and I think our experience with PICO, we did a very similar project in a very similar application in our Airdrie Preserve. PICO funded that. The township worked with us as a conduit for the money, and that worked very well. So we have a pretty good track record, and I think this will hopefully be a similar one, and to reiterate, no financial obligation from the town on behalf of the township here. So thanks very much for your support on this and in general for the Conservancy. Thanks.
Thank you. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second. Any board comment? Any public comment? All right, hearing none. This is a roll call vote. Supervisor Humble.
Aye.
Supervisor Holt.
Aye.
Supervisor Wysocki.
Aye.
Supervisor Freed.
Aye.
Supervisor Basker.
Aye.
And I vote aye. Motion carries. Next, we have a motion to consider and authorize advertisement of a public hearing on October 6, 2022 for H.R. 457, authorizing a lease with Cradle of Liberty, property located at 1485 Valley Forge Road. Mr. McKenna.
Thank you, Dr. Gussie. Actually, this is supposed to be an ordinance that accompanied the lease agreement. I think in your materials, the ordinance may have been missing. The lease itself is actually there. I'm happy to answer any questions about the lease. As to the ordinance, I do just want to go over it. It's extremely short and to the point. Recall that the agreement of sale required that one of the conditions of the agreement for the purchase was that we enter into a mutually agreeable lease with the Cradle of Liberty, as they need to stay at the property for a certain period of time. In this case, it's 12 months under the lease. So the ordinance itself is going to attach the lease agreement as an exhibit, and what it would do was it would approve the terms of the lease with Cradle of Liberty, authorize either the solicitor, any member of the board, the township manager, to take all reasonable measures and actions necessary or convenient to effectuate the terms of the lease, and that the lease would only be executed and effectuated upon the successful conclusion of the purchase of the property, which is actually scheduled for this week. Section 2 of the ordinance is always our severability provision, in case any portion is found unconstitutional, and Section 3 of the ordinance is the repealer ordinance, and then it's always subject to the 31-day effective date. So I tell you all of that so that you know that this is the ordinance that you will enact on October 6th. There are no changes proposed, and it will be the agreement that is in your materials will be attached to that ordinance to be executed by both the Township and Cradle of Liberty.
Thank you. So do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second? All right, any board discussion? Any public comment?
It's not related to the motion per se, but is it October 6th, Thursday night?
There's a special meeting of the board that night that's actually going to discuss the budget, so they took the opportunity to go ahead and just add that to the agenda for that evening. So
it was originally scheduled for Wednesday night?
That's correct. It did just get recently moved from the 5th to the 6th.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Any other public comment? All right, hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Next, we have a motion to consider and authorize advertisement of a public hearing on October 17th, 2022 for H.R. 458, amending Chapter 163 of the Tredyffrin Township Code, Sewers, Utilities, and Sewage Disposal. Mr. McKenna.
Thank you, Dr. Guzzi. I'm going to actually turn the details over to Mr. DeRocco, as he had more involvement dealing with VFSA on this than we did in simply preparing the ordinance.
Thank you, Mr. McKenna. Madam Chair, members of the board, Valley Forge Sewer Authority, or VFSA, has certain limitations on pollutants that can be in the sewer system. Our ordinance previously had, this is specifically dealing with arsenic, I believe 6 milligrams per liter. That limits actually, VFSA's limits 2.5. And so that the ordinance needs to be updated to change that. So that's what this accomplishes. Happy to answer questions.
Thank you. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
I was just going to ask Joe a question. I'll second though.
Okay. Now, do we have any board comments?
Where is all this extra arsenic coming from?
That's a great question. I have absolutely no idea.
All right. I mean, I know it's a significant poison, so I was just wondering, how it's getting in our...
I don't necessarily think there's any entering the system, like through, industrial waste or anything like that. But I'm sure there are some, which is why there is a certain limit. And essentially the agreement we have with Valley Forge, where it would require us to take certain action if it was, if the limits were found to be, in excess of 2.5.
Such as tracing the source, right? If it gets to super...
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
So just for clarification, it's not that we have someone who's actually putting arsenic in our sewers. It's just that we need to be in compliance with federal standards. And what this does is bring us in compliance. Is that right?
That is absolutely correct.
Thank you. Any other board comment? Any public comment? All right, hearing none. All in favor say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Now we will move on to escrows. First, we have a motion to authorize the following releases for Arcadia Tredyffrin LLC. The release of $790,081.59 for Phase 1. Request 19, balance remaining $286,829.82, as well as the release of $30,150.79 for Phase 2, Request 12, balance remaining $351,134.62. Mr. Burgo.
Madam Chair, members of the board, release for Phase 1, it covers a variety of things, most importantly, conversion of the sediment traps to the final stormwater BMPs, final paving, the wearing course, some sidewalk installation, and grass pavers for emergency access. This has been reviewed by Township staff and our consultant inspector, and we do recommend that release of that $790,081.59. For the Phase 2 release, that is mostly just grass paver installations for the emergency access. And that $30,150.79 is also recommended for release this evening.
Thank you. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any board discussion? Any public comment? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. And next we have a motion to authorize the release of $70,706.79 for Berkeley Townhomes LLC, balance remaining $233,269.66. Mr. Burgo.
Madam Chair, members of the board, this release request for the Berkeley Road subdivision includes stormwater work that has been done on the property as well as an Avon Road associated with this project, and some pavement restoration as well. And some concrete curb. So it has been reviewed, it has been inspected, work's still going on the site, but this release is requested for the board this evening, and it's recommended.
Thank you. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any board comment? Any public comment? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Now we move on to new matters. Do we have any board member new matters?
Yes, Chair Gussie. I would like to remind the public that Berwyn Fire Company's Firefighters Gala is coming up this Thursday, September 22nd, from 7 p.m. till 10 p.m. at the beautiful Terrain Gardens in Devon. That's right where the Waterloo Gardens used to be, right at Lancaster Avenue, and on one side it's Waterloo Avenue, I guess Waterloo Road, and on the other it's Devon State Road. So if you can come to the event, that would be terrific. Individual tickets are $150 each, or if you can't make it, you can still donate online to Berwyn Fire Company. So I would ask that, those who can, please support this event. Second, and I know many people in the neighborhood have been complaining, or in the township, about loud fireworks. Some people even think it's dynamite being thrown in various parks late at night, sometimes 3 in the morning, 4 in the morning. I called in to the police a couple of weeks ago on a Saturday night. Starting at midnight, it went till 12:08. Somebody had gotten into the construction site where the new apartments are being built by Contention Lane and Sweetsford Avenue, and were shooting off fireworks from the site. The gates had been left open numerous times, and plus it's attractive, right? It's attractive nuisance to kids. I did visit the site foreman today, and they have installed many cameras now so that they're taking video of the spot in case somebody tries to go back. They are being diligent on locking the cages now. So I know a lot of people would hear that, be glad to hear that. One thing that's been a problematic has been the accumulation of trash, especially those containers for food, the clamshells and such. And I did take pictures of it 10 days ago and was going to turn it into code enforcement, but as part of my stop off there today, I asked them if their workers would clean it up, because they've been going over to the other side of the area and getting their food for lunch. We're glad they're supporting local business, but they're then just throwing the trash on either side of the Contention Lane Bridge. So he assured me that that would get cleaned up this week. So as for the other areas where the dynamite or fireworks are going off, as I understand, the perpetrator hasn't been caught yet. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other board member new matters? Any citizen new matters?
Just really quickly, going back to your announcement about John Myers at the beginning of the meeting. His family requested that in lieu of flowers, that donations be given to Open Land Conservancy. And we've seen the measure of the depth of the regard for John. And we've received a material amount of money in relation to our budget. And we're going to work really hard to make sure that there's kind of an appropriate legacy, whether it's equipment, whether it's plantings, and we're really grateful to the family and to all of those who remember John so fondly. So thank you.
Thank you. Any other citizen new matters? All right, hearing none, do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Do we have a second? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, that concludes our meeting. Thanks, everyone.